Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start with some introductions and announcements before we take questions. So start thinking about what your questions might be. So you might be ready to ask one. First of all, you might know me. I'm Laura Biewer, Coach Me Laura, and I am your main host today. But I do have people helping me today because Jen is already off for the holidays. So I'm going to start with Jen Cooper, and Jen Cooper is, watching the chat for us. I should take a look at that myself. And by the way, I know you guys like to put stuff in the chat, but it's very hard for us to be answering that way and for people to see the answer because it keeps scrolling up and you'll see the question and not see the answer. So we do ask, would you please raise your hand unless you're having technical difficulty and it's not allowing you to do so. Then, of course, you can let us know that, and then Jen can forward the question to us. Our other co-host today is Matt Miller, and Matt Miller is the president of California League of Independent Notaries. He does visit us quite often, and so I'm glad to have him to help answer questions as well. So let's start with a few announcements. We will be dark. What that means is there will not be NBB for the remainder of December. We will begin again the first Tuesday of January. So that will be our next date. Guys, I'm not looking at my calendar. January 7th is a Tuesday. Okay, great. So that would be the next time that you'll see us after today. Second thing is we have exciting news to tell you. We are making some changes, minor ones, to our format, but I think you're going to love it. The first one is that Jen and Matt are going to be with us more frequently, and Jen is going to be doing a weekly mentoring tip with you. So before we get into the questions, she's going to offer some kind of mentoring tip. We're going to call that the mentoring moment, where she's discovered something that might be helpful to you. Quarterly, Matt is going to be doing the legislative minute, and that is what's going on in legislation. Are there bills happening that potentially are going to be going through? Did anything get passed? Is anything starting? Anything in that world, so that you guys can, and remember, Matt doesn't just do California, he's monitoring all 50 states. So he'll bring you the news, whatever state it happens to be from. So those are going to be additions to our TNT format. So I hope you'll like it as much as we liked coming up with that. And we have two perfect people to do each one. And then the third announcement about our change is that we have a new link. So it will not be at Notary Coach. We're going to put it on for you on the chat. What you're going to want to do is click on that link and sign up so that you can get the reminders with the weekly link, just like you did with Notary Coach. So we're moving that that address to Marketing for Notaries, which is Jen's website. And so it would be marketing4notaries.com/TNT. So you will get an email that says, yay, thanks for registering with us. And you'll get a second email that says, please opt in. And that is, how we make sure there's no spamming going on, and that we're not putting people in the email list that don't belong there, that didn't want it. So it's a two-step process. So that's what you can be doing today. There's also some emails that'll be coming out as reminders from Bill directly. Instead of getting it's starting in 15 minutes, you're going to be getting, hey, we're dark. And remember, there's a new link. So that should take care of people who are not on the call today. That will also have a chance to do that. And it'll probably take us a few weeks. He will do a few announcements in December and probably one in January to remind people there's no TNT over here. You've got to go to this other link and sign up over there. So make sure that you register at that new link so that you can continue to come to our calls and ask your questions. So those are the announcements regarding TNT for 2025. And we'll continue to put out social mail about the call and what's happening. And if we have special guests, that's another format change. Once a month, we plan to bring on somebody who has expertise in some area and give them a 15-minute window to talk about that expertise. For instance, we did that with Jim recently, about a month ago, on Google Business Profile. So every month, it's going to be, I believe, the second Tuesday of the month. We're going to bring a guest in, and then you can ask questions of them. So that might prompt you to ask questions about that particular topic. So I think I got all of the changes that you're going to see in our format for next year. All right, the other announcement, let me see where we're at here. The other announcement is, if you have not heard, Matt and I have collaborated together to bring you a webinar on January 4th. We are going to be talking to California notaries specifically. So if you are not California, then you don't need to register for this. This is for California notaries. We're going to talk about how out-of-state notaries are taking our business here and what can we do about that now. We're going to talk about the new law change January 1st and what that entails, and the new language that you'll need to have available if you have to perform that act. And then we're going to talk about the laws that already passed for RON for us. And we're going to talk about that because we already know what the rules are. We already know the law passed, even though it's not effective yet. We're waiting for Secretary of State. I think these 5 things we're going to pick out and talk about are the most significant changes that we need to be aware of. And they're in the area of fees, the area of training, the area of your commission itself. So it really impacts your commission if you're in California. And you're going to want to know this information to make determinations about, is this the line of business I want to add to my business? Because you may or may not once you know all the rules. So that's happening January 4th. The link is in the chat. Thank you. California CA new law. And then one other one, Jen recently did a goal setting workshop. And if you missed it, you can purchase the replay for $15. So just go to her website if you want to get it. I did not have a chance to be in it live. I had something come up, but I went through the materials she sent as part of her course, which were fantastic. Very supportive, just walks you right through how to do the goal. Really well laid out. So guys, I tell you, I've paid hundreds of dollars to go to somebody to learn how to set goals. So if you missed it, know
There's a
that
link in the chat for that. They don't have to go to my website. There's a link in there for them.
there's a link right there to do it.
Yeah.
So just go to that link, click on that link, and then you'll have it. All right, that takes care of that announcement. And finally, you guys might wonder, hey, I like this TNT call. How else can I work with you, Laura? Well, one, I have another call, similar but different, on Saturday mornings, and that's Laura's Inner Circle, and that's at 8 a.m. Pacific Coast time every Saturday. If I'm not available, I have Matt co-hosting with me, but if I'm not available, then he is the host on that particular one. It's a free call. We don't just take questions. We set an intention, and then we have deeper discussions about that I can't do when I have 150 people because it's a smaller call. So if that's something you're more interested in, bring your questions there. And so the link is in the chat. You just go to my website and scroll down on the homepage a few inches and you'll find Laura's Inner Circle. Leave me your email. I'll send you the link. I don't change the link ever. So I don't send reminders either. So that means you got to hold on to that email with the link if you want to come every Saturday, right? All right, so I talked about the announcement. I talked about my other call. I also do free strategy calls, and that's at my Calendly address. And that's if you need 15 minutes of personal time from me. And that means you're bringing me a question that you need some help with, and perhaps you don't feel it's appropriate for the group setting, then I'll do my best to answer it as much as I can or point you to the right resources who might better help you to take care of that. And I think that's all I've got for today. So I will repeat some of these again later on in the call in case people didn't drop in till now, because now I see we're already at 75. So we had about 20 people pop on in the middle of my announcements. Let's get started with questions. So if you've had a notarization and you were questioning it, if you had an issue with a signing service or title company and you weren't quite sure how to deal with that, if you have a technical question about a notarization, remember, if it's very state specific, I'm always going to ask you, do you know what your state law says about that before I start answering it, so I don't give you misinformation. Now, some of you have your states right after your name. Thank you so much. I love that, but some of you don't. So you can always rename yourself by just moving the cursor up where you see the 3 dots up in your square. And then the last option, I believe, is rename. And you can add your state right to your name, and it'll just do it instantaneously. Okay, so if I don't see your state, I'm going to ask you to please remind us of your state, because it can impact our answers for you. And remember, when I'm giving a question that's state specific, then remember, it doesn't mean you get to do it. That doesn't mean that was the answer for you. You have to know your own state laws to know, does that fit? Is that allowed? Is that the right fee for your state? All right. So I did see a hand go up and then it went down. It went away. And I'm not seeing any other hands. So my question for you, thank you, Jill, is when you come, I know that it's great. You get to learn from everybody else's questions, but you can participate and help with the heavy lift by asking questions yourself. All right, Jill, thank you for putting up your hand and waiting. Appreciate it.
Okay, mine was actually going all the way back to the link when you sign up for the second email and it says you're registered for the new Titan call.
Okay.
It just basically has click here. So it's
Okay.
trying to add it to the calendar. So when I clicked on Zoom, there was the Zoom address from that link. And I just want to make sure that that's the new Zoom address.
Well, that would be the new Zoom address.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can just go ahead and add it
Put
to
it
my
on your calendar and now you have it. Yeah,
calendar.
and you don't have to worry about it changing. It'll be the same all the time.
Okay, great. That was pretty much what my question was.
Okay, well, thank you for getting that clarification for everyone. Rochelle in Washington, thank you.
Yes, my question is, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I was Fidelity approved, so I could work, at certain title companies for signings. And I was working for I guess, a person as one of her signers, and she let me go because I was only supposed to be working for her. This is like back in 21. And come to find out, when she let me go, she went to Fidelity in Everett and had me taken off her Fidelity list. I didn't know that. So now I have tried to get re-certified or, Fidelity approved, and I can't because of what she said about me. What do I do?
Yeah, I don't know that there is a lot I can help you with in that case other than to contact her.
I did.
Okay, and did you ask, did something happen? Did I do or say something that would cause you to remove me from your list? Because now the impact is I can't get work with anybody in Fidelity. So did you have that conversation?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I mean, I cannot only work at Fidelity. I can't work for Chicago.
Well,
I
everybody
can't.
who's Fidelity. There's a
Right.
lot
Who
of
everybody.
companies. Yeah.
Right.
But okay, but
And
Rochelle, let's just walk
okay.
through it. You've
Okay.
had the conversation and the communication she gave back to you, was it helpful? Do you remember it? Did it seem to make sense why this would be the action she would take?
The reason why she let me go is that because I was untrustworthy.
Because you worked for other people?
Yeah.
Okay, and so when you worked for her back in 21, she was not with Fidelity, she was her own signing service?
Yes.
Okay, and did you sign any kind of exclusivity paperwork to work for her?
I did.
Okay, and so you did sign something that said you were exclusive to her. And that, I'm not saying that was right or wrong. I'm just trying to clarify the facts. And you later, even though you had this exclusivity contract with her, did work for somebody else.
Correct.
Okay, so let's, was there a misunderstanding about what you signed, what that meant? On
No.
just on your part, when you signed it, did you not understand that if you signed this, you were saying, I will not take jobs from other competing signing services?
No, I understood it.
Okay, so you did understand. So, did she not give you the volume that you needed?
Correct.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to speak with her and say, I know I signed this exclusivity clause in the agreement. However, I don't get enough volume to support myself. I need to work for other companies, or I need more work from you. What can we do about that?
I did not.
Okay, so and of course, this is all, much easier for me from the front end, from looking back and walking you through it. So that didn't happen. As a result, she somehow found out you worked for somebody else, and as a result, took you off her list. Okay. And now she's kind of holding a grudge, and she's done it at Fidelity, which now took you off of everybody's list. That's Fidelity. Do I get it correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now what we're talking about is it possible to have any kind of damage control? She's saying the word not trustworthy because you broke your word that you had in writing you wouldn't do this, right? But the reason you did it is because you couldn't get enough work from her solely, and you needed work, you needed jobs. And that you understand that the right thing would have been at that point to readdress it with her, to say, I know I signed this, but I don't have enough work to live on. And so what can we do about that? Can you open the door back up that I can work for other signing services or Title Direct? Do you have more volume and you can push that my way? What could we do so that I can sustain myself in my business? That didn't happen, and you understand that didn't happen. So now the conversation with her would be, I see where things went off the rails. I understand what I could have and should have done with you instead of just taking other jobs, so that you could understand my position, what the problems I was having with not having enough work. What could I do now besides apologize? What can I do now and admit that I was in breach of our contract? What can I do now that would help rebuild a working relationship with us? So that, I think that would be the next conversation I would have, is to admit, understand, and then ask, is there anything I can do to rebuild that relationship with you so that I can do work? Otherwise, you'd be put out of business. Basically, when Fidelity won't use you at all, you're going to be restricted to little mom and pop signing services. What do you think about having that kind of conversation?
She blocked me from her phone.
Okay, so you can't call her. Can you email her?
I could try.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it's repairable at this point. She sounds pretty angry and holding a grudge. But if you want to try to make it repairable, then try to reach out in a different way, either through email or mail it if you have a mailing address. Either so snail mail or email to communicate, hey, I get why you did what you did. Here's what I understood happened. That was my bad. I was in the wrong. To do that, I should have had a conversation with you to see if we could work things out, and I did not. is there a way for us to repair that relationship? Now, she might just say no. Then you've pretty much done all you can do with her. You might have to build a relationship with somebody else. That would be the second part, would be who else could you build a relationship that might get you back on the list. You would have to be upfront with that other person about why these remarks are being made. It's not because you stole somebody's information. It's not because you lost documents. It's not any of these kinds. It's not work performance related. It's because of that situation that she had exclusivity. And for everybody else listening, that happens. It's not that often that I see it, but once in a while I have, where it's like, you're just going to work for me. And that's, for me, I'd never sign that. I would never sign that and say, you're my only customer. Yeah. So Rochelle, I don't know if what I'm offering you will actually get you the result that you're looking for with this person. And if it doesn't, and you've taken it to that last level, then you have to let go of her. You just got to let go of that and look to see where might I have a different opportunity with a different person that I can say, okay, I want you to know, if you hear this, this is what took place. I've tried to repair the relationship. She's not willing.
I've even went to Fidelity and asked them I went to Fidelity and I asked them what was said.
Yeah.
And they won't even tell me. They will not approve me. That's how bad this is.
Okay. I don't really have anything other than what I've offered so
Okay.
far to offer you. Those are the two things. Matt, do you have any other suggestions?
Well, I think that we are probably all out of cordial communication opportunities. So, at this point, you have to look after yourself. You have to work, right? You have to feed yourself and pay your bills. So if the situation is as dire as I'm hearing, it might behoove you to have a consultation with an attorney.
Yeah. Do you have Legal Shield, Rochelle?
I don't know.
Okay, so just so guys know what that is, it's like having attorneys on retainer for you so that when you're not paid, when something like this happens, that you've got legal representation. And because it's Fidelity, if it was any other signing service, so what? Let them go and move on. But Fidelity is a significant impact. And I don't know if it would help for you to have legal representation to send, hey, here's what happened. Here's what I'm trying to do to rectify or repair. I'm not making any progress. And by them saying nobody can use me, when you are about, what are they, like 60% or more of all the title companies out there, it puts me out of business. To see if that might be an option. I don't know. I mean, we really can't force them to approve you.
Right.
I don't think there's any way we can force that. All you can do is try on your own or try with some legal assistance. And there are other companies. I mean, they're not all the companies. You're just going to have to work for other ones. Now, you can work for companies that they are Fidelity approved, even when you're not. You know what I mean? You don't have to be Fidelity approved up here. You could be approved at the signing service level. And not all their customers are Fidelity. All right. So the one you probably wouldn't be able to work for is BankServe, because that is Fidelity. But there's plenty of other ones out there, especially now as the workload is starting to grow again. There are other companies available out there, and you might have to spend your energy on identifying other companies. And don't sign any other agreements of exclusivity.
Oh, I won't, trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know how much energy and effort you want to put into this situation with that relationship. But there's other companies that you can start working for.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if I need to go see a lawyer or not and get your opinion on this. So that's why I brought it.
Yeah, and so I'm going to tell you that, first of all, I don't do a lot of loan signings, but I probably did around 25 of them in this year total. See, so I don't do a lot of them. And you know what? Only one was Fidelity. I work for other smaller signing companies for whom I've had relationships. And although I am Fidelity approved, I don't rely on that. So
Right.
it is possible. I wish I could give you something that is the absolute answer, but human relationships like that are not black and white. That
No.
was really difficult. And I see Teresa in the chat was saying, you know, she's done work and it's that you don't have to just have Fidelity approval. And there are people on this call who don't have Fidelity approval. And all that means is that Fidelity is like at the top of the food chain and they've got Chicago Title and I don't know, Old Republic. They've got a whole bunch of chain title or escrow companies. And those companies will only use you if you are approved for them. And so that's what she's talking about, if you didn't understand that part. So Rochelle, my best to you. I hope that you can find some new relationships. You might want to at least do an email or letter. Might not do anything, but you never know.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pam.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
One question is, how often, I mean, should you get the the new laws, California? I know this one I have is 23. I never got a 24.
Yeah, so the
Um,
laws didn't change in 23 or 24 that need to impact us, but they are changing in 25 because
okay.
we've got a new law that came into being.
Mhm.
And I would say you should have a handbook that matches what the current set of laws are. And actually, we went, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. We didn't really have anything going on that impacted that book, although they published it.
Mhm.
But you definitely want to get the next year. So what if
Yeah.
you're not renewing? Like at NNA, we buy those handbooks and we give them out at classes, right? So if you are renewing and you're doing it with the NNA, you're going to get one. But if
Right.
you're not, you're going to need to download it
Mm,
from their website and it will be downloadable in January.
Yeah, right. No problem there. And then another question, I had another notary probably a week or two ago reach out to me, and apparently she must be disabled of some sort, but she asked, I guess she asked if I could help her fill out
Mhm.
the certificate, I guess, but she can stamp it and sign it. So I'm not quite sure. I wasn't available to help her anyway, but I was just wondering if anybody's heard of, she said
So
it
a
was
notary, you're saying a notary needed assistance in filling out the blanks on the certificate.
correct,
She was going to sign and stamp it. So
right?
I'll tell you two things. One is it could have all been pre-filled out by whoever the originating company was, and I can just stamp and sign. I do that all the time for attorneys who use me regularly. So I don't think you're breaking any laws there
Okay.
by doing that. It could have been pre-filled out for her. Although
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
concern about a notary who can't fill out her certificates without another person there to help her. So, but that's her
Yeah,
issue.
she said
Yeah,
something
it's her
about
issue.
being,
So,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
she
I
was
wasn't able to,
disabled
and
when maybe she wasn't disabled when she started, but now she's got
yeah,
some kind of issue. And it sounds like, for as long as she has this issue, that, it's going to be difficult for her to be an
yeah.
active notary.
Apparently, a couple other notaries that she normally uses weren't available to help her. And so she reached out to me, and I
All
wasn't
right,
available either. So
Matt, I think
Out of curiosity, how would she journal?
I, I think the other people do it for her.
Got it.
Yeah.
now that I don't think is okay. You know, to have somebody else fill out your journal for you.
She said something about, is it ADA that she was compliant or something, or I don't know.
You know, there's not a whole lot of ADA.
Anyway,
Like
And
if you're deaf, there's no ADA to protect you to say, you can use me because I have this disability. No, I can't, because I'm not allowed to help you if you need a third party to translate for me ASL, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a
Anyway.
lot, the notary world is not that good.
Awesome.
But in any case,
Yeah.
I would have concern about the journaling, but of course she's the notary. That's her issue. If it
Yeah.
comes up, that's on her, not on you. If you pre-filled out some blanks on some certificates for her, I don't see the issue because I know they could be pre-filled out by somebody else.
Okay. Got it. Thank
But
you.
I would not fill out another notary's journal.
Yeah, it was very
I have
strange.
a line somewhere.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Anybody? Can we write the info?
I know we have some questions out there with 113
Yeah.
people on the call.
I have one.
Excellent.
Okay.
How are you,
I don't
Patricia?
know who it is. Would you put, oh, Celicia?
Patricia.
Hey, good morning,
There-
afternoon. Well, whatever time of day it is.
Oh.
I had a lady call me today and she needed to do a quit claim deed for another state. And she's on vacation. She's going to be on vacation here in Florida. It's coming up for the holidays. But she was saying that the deed is in her maiden name. And, you know, this was many, many years ago. And of course, her maiden name's Jones and she's now Smith. So she doesn't have any ID for Mary Jones and she's Mary Smith. So what does she do?
Well, Celicia, that sounds like a very typical ID question that every notary should know what your alternatives are. If you do not have sufficient, the ID is not sufficient for you to reasonably rely on that ID card. So my thoughts as I'm thinking through it are, do you have some other ID that would have that name on it?
Well,
That's one
yes,
thought.
she does have her birth certificate and a certified copy of her marriage license saying that she was
Oh,
Mary
those are not
Smith.
ID cards.
I know.
That certainly support, but it's not another ID card. And then, so the answer would be, I don't have an ID card from all the IDs that are listed for Florida
Right.
to utilize. So what's my alternative? In Florida, you have credible witnesses is an alternative if they do not have an ID card, right?
Okay.
With the right name. So that's one path to go. The other path is satisfactory evidence or reliably rely on the ID is not the same as name match. All right, so that's not what the law says in Florida. It doesn't say it's got to be a name match, but it does say it's got to be the right card, right? It's got to meet certain requirements, and it
Right,
does
right.
say that you reasonably can rely upon it. All right, so those two things. Did she look like the picture on her ID?
Well, she's coming. She's coming for her holiday.
Okay, so one of the things I'd look at is why do we have, you know, requirements to have an ID card that has certain things on it like a photograph? Because it's one of the ways we can say, even if the name was exactly what you were expecting, is the person standing in front of you, the person's picture who's on the ID with the name that's on the document, right? We're trying to tie that all together. Is that the person who appeared before me? We've got physical description. Physical description, is the age seem appropriate for the person that's in front of you, right? Is it look like this person should be, you know, 45 and you've got a 20-year-old in front of you? That's a problem. So physical description can be very helpful besides the photograph. Asking people about the information that's on their card. What was the zip code to this address? What is, and you know, what's the birth date on this card?
And she is quitting it to her son. So it's not a
Yeah, okay, so I'm getting to that. Right now, I'm just trying to get through all of the questions I might ask a signer when things don't line up exactly as I expected. The next thing is, I would say, what's my risk level? Do I know this person? Is this person giving property to somebody else in their family? They own it and they're giving it to somebody else that they know. If I got called into court, how would I support that I notarize when the name on the card isn't the name on the document that we're using? And of course, having those other supportive documents goes to that support, right? The marriage certificate and what was the other one?
Marriage license and birth certificate. And I asked her, I said, we're quitting it to your son. Do you have his birth certificate? Because it will have your name as
the
the mother of the child.
Yeah,
Right.
would. But in any case, do you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to build a case for how can I reasonably rely that the person in front of me is the person who's named in this document, especially with a document in general terms is considered high risk because
That's right.
Deed.
You're giving away a big piece of something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always much more restrictive when I'm dealing with somebody I don't know with a high risk document when their name doesn't match on the ID. And so even though she's got it on some other things, that does not have her photo on it. So I don't know for sure if that relates to the same person or not. I might go through the other path of credible witness to let somebody else swear. But she's on holiday, right? So she won't know anybody.
I don't know. She may be
Witness
coming to
will
visit
work.
family. I mean, she may be coming to visit family or
Family,
something.
so she might be able to do that. You're the notary in the chair, Celicia. So I've walked you through
Well,
how I look at it and what I ask myself, what sounds like plausible for you to support moving forward, or was there something I said that made you think, no, I'm not doing that?
Can
Yeah,
I
well-
interject something? Can I?
Hold on.
interject
Yeah,
that?
Lynn, hold on a moment. Lynn,
Oh,
hold
it's
on.
about this matter.
I
All right,
want
good.
to walk through this because I want people to feel like they've learned something themselves. I don't want to just give you an answer and then you say, well, Laura said that was okay. You have to be the person in the chair making the decision. I can't be there. I don't see what the picture looks like. I can't see all that stuff going on. Only you will. So what is it that I talked about that might help you come to a conclusion?
Well, I always think you're exactly right. If I ever got called into court, what would I say? How would I tell them that I had determined that this was really this person? You know, what reasonable steps did I take?
Okay, and having some extra documents could be, that's not actually listed in notary law anywhere for you to rely on to like make it whole, but it certainly is a reasonable idea to say, I saw this, that, and the other thing. She was deeding it to her own son. That seemed to be less risky than it was going to who knows who. What else was?
And she had a
Oh, I
very unique
saw-
name. She had a
Huh?
very unique name.
A very unique name. Also, I saw the picture and the physical description appeared to be her. Right? I mean, I'm just looking at all the things I could say in court that made me come to a logical conclusion because we're held to like reasonable man standard, right? What's reasonable? Is that reasonable to say, and based on that, I move forward versus the law of the land for Florida says I need to have the right last name, right? This is a different last name totally. And even though she had some other documents, I leaned on the side of prudence and said, this is too risky a document. And so, yes, I did not provide service to this client and she might complain to the Secretary of State. I did not provide service to this client and here's why.
Well, would you not sign it as Mary Smith,
It'll be like Adam
also
trying to
known
do
as
something with-
Mary Jones?
So that's a great question. She asked if you didn't hear it, could the signer sign their name as one, AKA the other? And absolutely, but that's not my job to direct her to do that. And if it's not set up that way in the document, there may be a rejection issue because.
Well, you will be proud of me because I said, call the clerk of courts there, the county clerk, and ask
Right.
them what they recommend.
Exactly. So that's the issue. It's like that could be an answer, right? And then you would use your ID and then also known as the maiden name. So that could work, but I don't know if it would get rejected when it hit the recorder's office. So that's where I have to step out and say, look, I'm not an attorney. I cannot advise you to do that, but I could recommend where you could go get that information. And since she's not there yet, it's good that you recommended that before she even got to you. And now you're kind of standing in front of her, feeling pressured to help her at the moment.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm going to
Thanks.
let, I hope that was helpful, Celicia. Thank you. Now, Lynn wanted to say something about this conversation.
Okay.
There you go.
You basically touched on it with the, with using both names. But I know that the attorney that I work with, if you're using just a template quitclaim, there's probably not room in there, but if you can type it out and add a paragraph, Jane Doe, am the same Doe that took title and in this document on this date. Paragraph 2, my marriage certificate is where I changed my name. That way she's signing the document as the new name as an affidavit. You could do it as an affidavit and saying, and you as a notary are only witnessing the affidavit or affirming the affidavit where she's saying, I'm that person. So you're just confirming the signer.
Okay,
Does
Lynn,
that make
I'm going to
sense?
hold on. I want to ask you a question, then I'm going to let Matt talk. Lynn, are you a paralegal as well?
I've been a paralegal. I'm not a certified, but I've definitely been a paralegal for
Okay, so
years.
you've done that kind of work, legal secretary for an attorney.
For
And so
30
what I
years
want
or
to
so.
say is that although what you said is very reasonable,
Mhm, mhm,
most notaries are not paralegal or have that particular background.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so we want to be very careful when somebody's listening on a call like this about potential ways to address the document, because the document isn't our concern. The identification of the signer is. So we have to be really careful, even if we know there's about 2 or 3 different things I can think of that might help address it, but it's in the document part, and that's where I step over the line. And I need to say, look, you need to talk to this person or this person or this person to get the right thing, because I could offer something that's doable, but it may or may not be acceptable to whoever. And that's the other thing we have to think about is what was acceptable at the other end. I don't know. So thank you for sharing that, because certainly those are things that could be done and I've seen done, but it was done by the attorney. It wasn't done by me, where they acquired title under this name. Now they're this name.
Right.
Okay, Matt. Your
You
turn.
got it.
Okay. All right, guys. Celicia, thank you. If you take your hand down, you're good to go. And Chantel, what state are you in?
Hi, I'm in Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. And how can we help you today?
I just had a quick question. It was similar to not the last one, but the one before then. My daughter, who is also a notary, has issue with her hands now. So she hasn't done any notary work in over a year, but there are often times where I do need a witness and she's able to be one. Where we are confused or don't know is if I'm able to write her name and address if it's needed and she signs, or if she would have to write all of that information for it to be acknowledged.
I don't see a problem with you printing information.
Okay.
Just as, and I've had that. I did a signature by Mark recently and somebody had to print, the printed part. So
Okay.
I don't see an issue with that as long as she is still witnessing and signing as a
Got it.
witness. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Let's go to Raquel Broom. What state are you in?
Hello, everyone. I am in Alabama.
Okay.
I want to apologize in advance if you hear any background noise. I'm at the park with my daughter, so I apologize about that. I actually have a couple questions. My first question is, what would be a good resource for me to get
To get what?
NA?
You cut out, Raquel. What would be a good resource to what?
To get updated notary law besides the NNA?
So Virginia, does Virginia have a handbook?
Well, I'm in Alabama.
Or I'm sorry, Alabama, does Alabama have a handbook? I don't know if they do. So that'd be my
I'm
first
not
thought.
aware either, but I'll look that up.
So my first go would be to your, is it Secretary of State, the authority that manages notaries for you?
Yes.
Okay, I would go to their website and see if they have either FAQs or a handbook.
Okay.
That's
Thank
where I
you.
would go, and you should be able to download that.
Okay. And my second question is, I'm actually can you hear me well?
I hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to take my real estate exam soon. I want to know, what advantage would that give me, if any?
I don't think it gives you an advantage in the notary world, frankly.
Okay.
That's just what I've heard from other people who are both real estate agents and notaries, is that actually there are some places that don't want to hire you because you're a real estate
Yes.
agent and you won't get certain notary jobs. So I cannot say it's an advantage unless you're going to get it because you want to sell real estate. That's
Yeah.
fine, but I wouldn't get it because you think it's going to boost your notary standing.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Are we good?
Yes.
And Matt just put a link for you for the Alabama Notary Handbook. Go take a look. All right, Corinne in Tennessee. Can you unmute yourself? It's down, the microphone down in the bottom left where it says audio. There you go. Okay, I still don't hear you. Is your microphone up all the way? Because I don't hear you.
This.
Now we got it.
All right.
Probably the
Sorry
earphone.
about that. I'm at work and I'm on my phone. So
Sure. All right.
I did have a question, and this may just be like a Tennessee question. I'm from Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
And I just recently did a quitclaim deed, and the signers wanted me to also stamp copies. So they had the original document that for the I guess it was for the guarantee, and then they wanted me to also stamp the copy that they were giving to the other signer. Do you have any idea, is that how things normally go? I've never had to do that before. I didn't charge them for separate documents because they were the same document, or just kind of what's your recommendation on that?
So first of all, we need to look at what is the rule in Tennessee. Does
Yeah.
Tennessee have a notarial act to certify copies? Matt might look that up while I'm talking. So that's the first thing. Let's assume the answer is yes. If the answer was yes, then you would have an original notarization with the acknowledgement or jurat, and then the copies would have a different type of notarization, which is that you certify that this is a true copy. So that's the path you would go if in Tennessee it is okay to do that. If the answer is no, I'm in a state where I don't have an act to certify copies, you have other paths you could take. You would notarize the first one, the original, and then you'd notarize the other two as also originals, and they'd have 3 originals. They're not really copies.
Okay.
But you would charge them for each one because each document, even though it's the same one, required a separate stamp from you.
Okay.
So whatever
Okay.
you're allowed to charge, you could charge for each one of those.
That's what I actually ended up doing. I just stamped them as if they were original documents, but I did give them a little
All right,
discount.
but for future, you might want to go to your Secretary of State handbook or your website and see if certification, copy certification is an act for you in Tennessee, because there's only about half the states that are allowed to do it.
Okay.
Okay,
I
and
will
then
look
you'd
into
have
that.
another option should it come up again.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. And Matt, sometimes it goes so fast you just can't get to it.
I got it. That
You
is
got it?
not,
What is it?
That's not a power of a Tennessee notary public, but you could do copy certification by document custodian.
And that's the other path. They write a statement that says this is a true copy, and then you notarize just the statement that goes with the document. Do you understand what I'm saying, Corinne?
Could you repeat that? You said they,
Yes.
so
So
in
what would happen
Tennessee,
is you have the original, that's
Mhm.
notarized. You have the
Mhm.
two copies. What you would do is have the signer make some kind of statement that it's a true copy. They would sign their statement, and then you would notarize their statement, right? The signature to the statement that the document at hand is a true copy. So you're not certifying the copy of the document, you are notarizing the signature to a statement. Whether it should be an acknowledgement or a jurat is up to the signer. What the
Okay, so-
statement needs to say is up to the signer. And you'll
So-
find that document by custodian, copy certification by document custodian on the internet. You'll find some examples of that.
and that custodian document, it is legitimate for Tennessee because they do not allow certified copies. Is that what?
That's right. So that's the workaround. Like, I'm in a state where I can't do anything but powers of attorney. So when it's any other kind of document that they want to certify a copy, I tell them, I cannot do that, but you can self-certify. Just write a statement about the copy itself, sign it, and I'll notarize your signature. Would you like to swear it's true, or do I need to prove it's you? And then I'll go with that notarization. I have a stamp of the wording, and then I'd put that under the statement by their signature along with my notary stamp.
Okay, so
Okay.
then my next question would be, am I stamping that copy as well, or am I only stamping
The statement.
the statement?
That's right. So
Okay.
the stamp would not go on the copy. The only way you can get the stamp on the copy is that you treat it as an original. They have an original signature to it, and you're notarizing it.
And that is still technically an option if they were willing to pay the fee for a second
For each
original.
one, assuming you're
Okay.
charging the fee for each, but you're allowed to.
Gotcha. Okay. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Carol, I know I'm pushing them through because I only got 10 minutes. I want to hit everything.
I want to go back just a touch with what Solution was dealing with.
Yeah,
So,
great question.
and because I'm a little bit confused.
Okay,
And I went because we're both in Florida.
Right.
So I had a guy, because this may be somewhat relevant. I had a guy his wallet got stolen. So I was indicating we went through all the different, these are the 10 different things you can use. He didn't have any of them.
Right.
I said, so now we can do credible witness. Okay. So in that case, we did credible witness. All right.
Okay.
We did the two credible. We were able to do that. But he asked me, he goes, well, I've got his, like, what if somebody had their DD 214? What if somebody had, you're talking like I find a marriage certificate, or I find that. And I said, that's not a representation of the items that the state of Florida says you can
Right.
use. So I think I'm comfortable in the identification, but now you've brought up, but the name's different.
That
So
happens all the time.
on this one, this was a title. So the vehicle title, and Miss Alicia will test, I called her on this one too, just to make sure that I was doing it the way I should. But in this case, the name that's on the title was exactly this. It was what they were testifying. They were attesting to him, if you will, saying, swearing to me they were him, because we have a credible witness. I have a form for that. So I guess my question is, if the person's name is different, what are we even, I mean, how do I'm concerned that I would be going outside my realm of this document says to me, and I see Matt shaking his head, this is the name.
So here's
This
Cheryl,
is
let
the
me
name that's
jump
on this
in.
document. Why would I even be able to go look at anything else other than the 10 identifications or the credible witnesses that are what is told to me in the state of Florida?
Carol, let me jump in.
Okay,
Let me jump
thank
in.
you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right, so her situation was a little different. right? Because she had a card. She's going to have a card that's the acceptable one, but there's name variation on the card. Your guy didn't have anything.
Right, but her,
Right.
but even the name on the card though doesn't match what she's trying to do on
Hold
the.
on, I just
quick
want to
claim deed.
separate the two
Okay.
situations for people.
Gotcha, I
Make sure
gotcha.
there's clarity there. Your situation is the guy does not have any of the 10 IDs.
He doesn't have any ID.
Her situation is she does have one, but there's a name variation because of a marriage. So let's
Okay.
get that part separate. So that's why my answer is going to be different for you, which is credible witnesses would have been your only option. You would
Okay,
not have looked at any of those other documents. But she had a photo ID to start with that did meet the requirement. It was on the list. It had all the right elements. She had name variation. Here's the deal. Some name variation isn't really that big a problem for me, like middle initial, middle name. All right. I don't really have a big issue with that. I see that's her in the photograph. I see the physical description is good. It's not a risky document. I'm not going to go to credible witnesses. I'm going to make some notations about what's in her wallet. What else did I see that made me feel confident that this was her? Because I had the right ID to start with. If you do not have the right ID to start with, you can't go anywhere from there other than maybe credible witnesses. You're done. But if you have the right ID and it's a minor situation, to me, last names are not minor. That's not a minor.
to me, last names are not minor either. So if the deed says Susie Johnson and
Right.
the ID says Susie Wilson because she changed her name, she did something else,
Right.
she got married, I think we're done. Why would I go
Well,
further?
not necessarily. I mean, credible witnesses could be one alternative that's available. The other one is going to be about all the questions that I asked Celicia in our conversation. She may have acquired the title one way. So even though I can't tell her what to do with her document, I can suggest where she could find out what to do with her document to
Right.
make it acceptable for me, such as an AKA
Okay.
that Celicia mentioned, or change how it's named in the title. She acquired it as Jones and now she's Young, right? So there are some options to get the document to comply with what I need to notarize. I just can't tell her what those options are supposed to be because I don't know how that impacts
Okay.
acceptance at the end. But
Okay.
I can say
And
there are
I'm gonna-
options for the document.
I got you now. I'm in agreement with you on that. I guess I was getting confused that we were looking and making some assumptions about these documents that are over here. And that's where my mind went.
And Carol, did
I
you-
must not have been hearing correctly. I think if I saw that they were different and she's already contacted her and you got two different names, then you've got to be, I would say you got to go
Okay.
back to wherever that is.
All right.
And
I need you to wrap it up
find out.
because we're at
I
the
can't
end.
do that for you,
Okay.
right?
What I can do, Carol, and that was the point of this conversation with Celicia, was that we're not just stampers. We have to think about what we're doing. We're the notary in the chair. I can't not tell you what the right thing to do is, other than what the law says when I'm not the one in the chair. I do want you to know that, yes, we have to start with the right ID. And if we don't, we're already done with the identification based on how the name is in the document. However, it doesn't mean we're done because there may be other options that the signer will have to go figure out and come back to me with a
Gotcha.
document that
Okay.
meets the requirements
But
that I have.
I was getting the impression that we were, and I got
Do
you now.
not go looking.
We're not looking. We're
You-
not doing that. We're
You've
just
got
saying,
the
look,
IDs, Carol. You're the notary in the chair. If that's what you're doing, that's the right thing for you to be doing.
okay,
That's fine. Some of us, depending on our state, because there's some states that it is a name match, like North Carolina, they're like, that's it. But the rest of us, we might, depending on the document, depending on what the variation is. For me, junior, senior suffix, there's no nothing. I need the document to match the ID or I'm not moving
Yeah.
forward. So you better go
Okay.
do something about that.
okay,
Right? So
okay.
we all have to draw our line in the sand based on the things that I told you.
Okay.
the receipt
Thank you.
document.
Thanks
all
for
of
the
that.
clarification.
All right. Now, I know there's 2 people that have been waiting. I can only say yes to you if it is quick. I cannot continue on this conversation we just had. Terry Jo, do you have a question?
I do. I was on Bill's webinar regarding the apostilles.
Yes.
And my question is, I just finished the training for the trust delivery agent.
Yes.
And so I'm working on that. I'm still a signing agent. I've been doing that, but I'm wanting to get over more towards the attorney side. But I offer complete notary services, so I've not been trained on the apostille part. I am wondering, is that something maybe I should just put off and just concentrate on the attorneys, or go ahead and do that as well?
So I do not think that you want to start learning something else if you're not executing what you've already learned. So unless that attorney business is up and running, you're getting work and that's moving along great, don't be trying to start something else.
Okay.
Execute what you've already spent money on. And
Thank
then
you.
apostille is something you can use to expand your business.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Teresa, you're last. Do you have a quickie?
I was going to tell you a workaround, but you're out of time, so I'll save it for another time. It's when you can't write, how you can work around it. It's for whenever you can't write as a notary, how I worked around it, but we'll save it for another time.
Okay, thank you for saving it for another time, because I see we're at 119 and we've gone over, but gosh darn, over 100 of you stayed on today to the end. So thank you for that. Remember, no TNT the next 2 weeks. It'll be January 7th before we're back. There is a new link. Please make sure you picked it up today. You will get emails from Bill that give you the link and the instructions as well. Know that there was one other thing. Oh, and if you're a California notary, think about that January 4th webinar. It's about an hour and a half. It will be worth your investment in time. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you on January 7th. Take care in the meantime. Bye.